All right, so we just left off just needing to discuss RNA. So what makes RNA different from DNA is a few things. First of all, the sugar is different. So DNA has deoxyribose sugar, RNA has ribose. It's right here. It's still a 5-carbon sugar. It just is a slightly different atomical arrangement. Where it's located is also different. Most RNA spends its time in the cytoplasm making proteins. However, it gets made in the nucleus because each messenger RNA is a copy of DNA. So it gets created in the nucleus and then travels out to the cytoplasm to make a protein. It is single-stranded instead of double-stranded. You can see that very easily in the picture here, how that looks. And the base pair rules differ for RNA as well. So the thymine goes away in DNA and is replaced by uracil. So adenine pairs with uracil and cytosine pairs with guanine. That is also different. You can see some of that base pairing going on right here between the A and the U. And then another thing I want to point out is RNA acts as an enzyme in protein synthesis. In particular, rRNA, ribosomal RNA, its job is to pair up amino acids in the correct order, and it acts as an enzyme. And as I've said already, it's very important for protein synthesis. All right, differences between RNA and DNA. Now we're going to scooch to the bottom of your page here and talk about our last guy, which is ATP. So ATP is pictured right here. So the green, blue, and 3 purple dots is what ATP is. ATP stands for adenosine triphosphate. It's the A, here's the T, and that's the P that they refer to in the abbreviation. Why it has that name is it's made up of an adenine, the exact same adenine that's used in DNA and RNA. It's a nitrogenous base. It uses the RNA sugar ribose, and it has 3 phosphate groups instead of 1. This is basically a nucleotide with 2 extra phosphate groups on the end. So it's the same kind of thing that you would find as a piece of RNA inside as well. Now, ADP has a lot of stored energy in these phosphate groups. And so we always represent ATP as like, energy, okay? It has a lot of energy stored between these bonds. You can even see that there's a teeny tiny squiggle, like that they're forced together to hold on really, really tightly because of their polarity, and they want to dispel each other because of their charged properties. They want to push each other away. Now, if I add water in a process called hydrolysis, if I hydrate this, I shoot off one of those phosphates. And so it turns from 3 phosphates to a 2-phosphate molecule, ADP, and then there's a lone loose phosphate hanging out over here. ADP is adenosine diphosphate, di because there's 2 instead of 3. Now, ATP is used for all kinds of work for our cells. It allows things to move in and out of the cell membrane, doing transport. It does mechanical work of flexing muscles. It also helps bond different products together as well. It can do chemical work. And so ATP is essential for work, for energy in our entire body. Once it's used, it transfers from ATP to ADP, and there's a lone loose phosphate around. In order to get ADP hooked back up to ATP, we got to come down here and back around, and this is a reversible reaction. To go from ADP to ATP, I need to remove a water, dehydration synthesis, and I can attach that phosphate back on, creating ATP. If I want to go the opposite way, like I did over here, okay, you add water to break them apart. This process is much more complicated than this picture lets on. This is the role of your mitochondria in energy production. We made it, you guys. That was the end of my whole series of videos. I hope you watched all of them. Hopefully tomorrow I'll be able to stream them all together. But this is your exit ticket for Uber in class. I want you guys to think about glucose, fructose, and galactose and how they are all related to each other.